Welcome back, listeners, to Cosmic Confluence podcast, the space where we talk about the parts of ourselves we usually hide behind performance, productivity, and spiritual buzzwords. Now, listeners, today's conversation, I want to start with a question for you listening. When did you first learn that your worth depended on how much you did, how much you achieved, how little you needed? For a lot of us, the answer is early. Maybe it was the gold star in school, or the parent who only lit up when you brought home straight A's, the boss who praised you for pulling one more late night. Then slowly that high achiever mode turns into something else. Exhaustion that feels pretty normal, relationships that feel one-sided, a body that keeps the score even when your brain is still saying, I'm fine, I'm just fine. Now, listeners, today we are talking about that very edge, the moment where achievement stops feeling like power and starts feeling like self-abandonment. And my guest is someone who has walked that line in a very, very real way, listeners. Gabriela Popescu is a transformation coach, speaker, and spiritual mentor who helps women break free from burnout, people-pleasing, and also self-betrayal. She built Phoenix Medicine, a movement that weaves neuroscience, energy work, and deep real-life healing. She also guides people through her soul path framework and the four bodies: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, to help them reconnect with their truth and rise widely free. And listeners, what I love about Gabriela's story is that it is not theoretical. She survived abuse and burnout. She did the high achiever thing. She paid the price. And then she decided to build something different. Not just for herself, but for everyone who is tired of sacrificing their own body, nervous system, and their relationships just to feel enough. So if you have ever looked at your calendar and you thought, I built this life, why does it still feel like I'm disappearing inside it? This conversation is for you. So Gabriela, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really excited for this conversation.
Thank you, Sana. I'm excited as well. It's such a important and powerful topic, and I think it's so relevant in this day and age.
Absolutely. Gabriela, you have, lived it through burnout, through abuse. To begin with, when you think especially about the women you work with, what does high achiever actually look like on the inside? Not the social media, the LinkedIn version.
High achiever on the inside, it looks like a lot of overthinking, constantly being in a conversation with yourself of, oh, I could do more. I could do more, and everyone's going to be happy, and I could do it. I could do a little more. I could do a little more today, and it's okay. I'll rest. I'll rest later, or I'll rest tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes.
You're so right. And, it kind of initially it feels like kind of rewarding, and very, very satisfying. We feel like, we are giving a lot of value to everything. And when everybody is happy with me, then I feel the happiest. But then, unfortunately, it is something that, we may or may not realize it later, that it's eating us from, inside out.
Absolutely.
So, Gabriela, what is one, let's go to your journey. What is one specific moment, or maybe it can be, maybe a series of moments, like in your own life, when you realized that this is not ambition anymore. For me now, this is self-abandonment. I mean, what thoughts, what feelings were there within you? I mean, if you can give a glimpse or describe.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Romania. It's a Eastern Orthodox religion. Everything was about appearances and behavior, like behaving well, not, rocking the boat. And always, education was super, super important. And just like you said earlier in the beginning, in the intro, we get conditioned, right, to deliver and to behave a certain way, and that gets learned in our performative years. And that really carried, that need for validation from my bosses or my partner, that carried out throughout my whole life. And it's it, it's a very lonely place, and it also becomes very just exhausting. You're not really existing. You're moving through life. You're like one of those zombies on,
No.
whatever zombie show you watch. Your soul is 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 just so unhappy. And we talk about the four bodies, and I talk more about that in my book. But there's a trickle up and trickle down effect. And let's say you're eating crappy food, that's going to affect your whole, like all of your bodies and their ability to connect on the different levels. And the same thing with not doing things that you enjoy or love, or like taking the time to just to be still, to reflect, to connect with your higher self.
Hmm. And that actually makes a lot of sense, because like culturally, if I reflect upon this, especially for women, right from childhood, as you mentioned about conditioning, um, education, it has now, of course, especially for women, for girls, it's now a very, very essential part. And secondly, it's kind of, assume that, you when you grow up, you have to be a good homemaker, or you have to always make sure that you, tend to other people, your loved ones' happiness always. You have to be this perfect, maybe homemaker, mother, daughter-in-law, and all that. But where exactly is that space for you? And when we kind of, get onto that not phase, I should say, but into that, uh, thought process that, okay, I should at least make space for myself so that I can breathe. I can just find 5 minutes of that, me time. Then it's kind of assumed that, we are getting selfish, we are getting self-centered, and it is completely against the idea of a perfect, woman. And then on top of the added to the workplace and the professional, aspect as well. So from both the sides, it's like this, pressure cooker. And yeah, we're zombified.
Yes, 100%. I think it's up to us to take it upon ourselves to re-educate society, or to say, I can't be 10 things to all these different groups in my life, and it's okay. I know that at least in the US, I don't know how it is in India or other places, but I think here, there's a different epidemic, and I'm not going to get into that, but I think men are a little bit more flexible in like being supportive and taking some of the household stuff, or like sharing them. And that's good. But like you said, you're the container for your community, your family, loved one, friend, people in need. And then you also have to be as good as men or even better than men to have the respect and prestige that you want at work. And then you also got to take care of the kids, do the laundry and everything else. And you have to put your oxygen mask first before you put it on the person next to you. It's you got to feed your cup, fill your cup, and pour into yourself, because that's only going to make you better and everyone else's life better when you interact with them. If energy spreads, if you're on empty and you're constantly on high stress, or you're just depleted, that energy spreads and then it reverberates into your community, place of work, etc.
Exactly. And it also manifests physically as well, especially in midlife, and, when growing older. Many women are affected just because they didn't have proper nutrition, or they just didn't take care of themselves, or, nobody took care of them. Like, I have actually observed it, so firsthand. So I think the more and more awareness and conversation around this, not only in families or individually, but in communities, have to be encouraged from a realistic POV, not just the social media campaign stuff.
Absolutely. And you talk about nutrition, which is it's imperative. We right now, the way agriculture happens, like, we use the earth over and over again without letting it rebuild. And then, so there's not a whole lot of nutrients that you're getting out of the earth like nowadays. And so having, the right supplements, and then also having enough protein, like protein is imperative for women. It's so important, and it helps with brain function, just like your whole system benefits from you eating an adequate amount of protein.
I think it's a huge misconception, in some cultures, that you need more carbs and not
God, no.
proteins. Especially in women, I think proteins, then calcium deficiency. It's kind of in India there are many women who are going through this calcium deficiency. Then many of the women, they're not even aware about something which is called as perimenopause, or even how to navigate through menopause, because it not only affects you physically, but it also affects you emotionally, and spiritually as well, and mentally. One thing also, when we're talking about the physical aspect here, there's this, specifically with this, it's kind of a misconception, or like a stereotype, that women are not supposed to pick up weights or do any highly, stressful workouts. Maybe just walking and doing some yoga and stretching is fine, but you're not supposed to pick up anything heavy. So
yeah, that's a huge misconception. And as soon as we hit 30, we start to lose muscle by like 30-40%. And so lifting weights and lifting them heavy is actually the way to go, because there's studies showing that it increases your longevity by decade. And women outlive men usually. However, when they do have accidents and they break a hip, or they need surgery of a bone, that's actually what declines them, and like it leads to complications that ultimately them passing away. So if we are training our young women and the women in our lives to not be afraid to pick up heavy weights, to train heavy, it's going to support them and their quality of life significantly throughout the remaining of their life.
Exactly. So, Gabriela, let's go back to now your journey. So, when you actually realized that, kind of you have been consumed and you have kind of lost this, sense of identity, after your burnout, and then also the traumatic experiences. How did you start everything from scratch? Like, did you do any kind of research, or what exactly led you to these, four bodies concept?
Well, so originally after I think everything stems from a lack of self-love, and that's really how my journey into delving into all the four bodies started, because I've been a very angry individual, a really toxic individual, for half of my life. And then that allowed and attracted a very toxic individual into my life, which destroyed my whole life. And that was my tipping point into wanting to learn everything about alternative healing, anything Eastern, energy work, you name it, like every type of yoga, all the type of different breath works. I've done it, plant medicine, just traditional studying of nutrition and neurolinguistic programming, and so many other modalities. I've done it because I was determined to find my harmony, uh, my place of peace.
Yeah.
That was really the ultimate goal. Does that help?
It does. It does. And I think this is such, something that we all kind of, yearn for, that inner peace. And that, you know, I mean, this is something that I've also, because, I've like kind of mentioned it in many times in many of my conversations, that at some point of time in my life also, now that I realized that, yes, it was burnout, but it was such a kind of, a drastic shift from what I used to be, what I am right now. This always this, feeling of kind of who am I? And I don't feel any joy in doing the most basic things which I used to do. Don't find any interest. I just want to, be confined to maybe my bed and, sleep throughout the day. A kind of a withdrawal, social withdrawal. I do not feel like even talking to my friends or my colleagues or anyone. So initially it made it look very difficult, because when you realize that, yes, you are now gradually getting consumed by burnout, or, you kind of connected with maybe some past traumatic experience. Initially, I think that really hits hard. But then I think healing is messy and it is not linear. And also, it's always best, when you are into that, collective healing, because you know that you are not alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's healing is extremely messy, and it takes a lot of courage to take action and to be consistent. And I am here to champion and cheer on any and every individual that decides to take that step, because it's the most important step that you'll ever take in your life, because it's the step towards you and towards loving yourself fully and deeply, unconditionally, and in that process, healing what's out of balance.
Mm. And another thing which I really, really, kind of internally appreciated when you were mentioning that you have also been, kind of this angry, sometimes toxic person in almost for half of your life. Something which I absolutely can connect with, because sometimes, I can tend to be very, very overly reacting, or get angry. But then at the same time, I'll instantly, kind of calm down, cool down, and kind of, even forget what was the conversation like. So what kind of inner work you had to do, Gabriela, in order to, kind of maybe tone down, or maybe just kind of control your anger?
Mhm. Thank you for that question. Hi, well, first of all, I was looking at the world. I had a lot of limiting beliefs, outdated beliefs, and I was looking at the world as this person's doing this to me. Everyone's out to get me. Everyone is purposefully mistreating me. And that is a victim mentality, really. I believe that we are 100% responsible for what we create. We are the architects of our lives. And we have the power to either create something beautiful or something not so great. It is within 100% within our power to create heaven on earth or hell on earth. And what I was doing a lot back then was giving away my power to other people and not taking responsibility for my life and for my happiness and my well-being. That was one. And then the other one was, I don't know, like in Romania, I don't know how it is in India, but you don't really question authority. You don't question your teachers. You're not encouraged, just be curious. So I kind of applied that unsuccessfully in the US when I moved here when I was 16. And so I learned to be curious because before I would make these assumptions that were not based on reality about what other people's reactions meant. And so I started asking, like, what made you say that? Or I'm curious, what happened today that led you to this reaction, instead of assuming, the worst or just making up stories that were not real about the person in front of me.
I can definitely connect with that because it's kind of, this in India as well here, a kind of a template that whatever it is designed maybe by your parents or kind of, already, destined for you. You have to follow that. If you question that, then you are kind of digging up your own graves.
Yeah.
And then, because life is unpredictable. I mean, even if, it's kind of, taken as you are a rebel, that if you are going against the design and you fail, then all the people will start, questioning, oh, because you just went against the design, that's why you failed. But even if I go by the design, I fail, maybe I'll get a bit of sympathy, but then I don't know. I mean, it won't be like, I'll discover something that, I may be having a superpower within me. And sometimes we tend to only believe things that we see, okay, this person is earning this much money, so very successful. This person is having this shiny lifestyle. That's why, they're revered, they are, respected. I'm maybe not doing so well because all these things happened with me. That is why. So, yeah, self-limiting beliefs, many times there can be multiple factors, but mostly maybe because of the upbringing or the childhood experiences. Because scientifically, we also see those beliefs, they kind of, get embedded into your subconscious very early.
Absolutely. And something that was shocking to me to learn a few years ago is that 95% of the things we do on an unconscious level, and old programming that's based on. So if we're not being cognizant and recognize those outdated beliefs, we're going to perpetuate and recreate the same patterns over and over again just to sustain those beliefs that we have.
Exactly. Absolutely. That is why it is very important to slow down. And that brings us to my next question, Gabriela, here, because I think this particular body, out of all the four bodies, is such a beautiful way of slowing down, because Cosmic Confluence is, kind of this bridge between the spiritual and the scientific. So, sometimes spiritual spaces, they're kind of, confused or kind of equated with religious or places of faith. And quietly they shame ambition. the message comes like, if you really trusted the universe, you would not care about money or big goals. So how do you respond to the idea that wanting prosperity and at least, like a bare minimum that, because we have to pay our bills, we have that freedom to have a good life. It is somehow less spiritual. That means you're not spiritual at all.
Well, yeah, no, I do not. I respectfully disagree with that limiting belief. And I think everyone is entitled to abundance, especially financial abundance. But abundance also means abundance in love, abundance in relationships and connections, abundance in multitude of projects that you love doing and you enjoy creating for people. So there's like 6 or 7 limiting beliefs that are the root cause of most of the things that people experience throughout their life. And one of them is, I don't deserve happiness. I don't deserve abundance. I'm not enough, right? It ultimately stems from that. And it gets passed down either generationally or, by observing it when you're young. And it's just another belief. And I would invite your listeners and anyone that is interested to really just pause and really inspect. Is this belief something that they truly believe, or is this something that was passed down or instilled in them from their family or the culture, society that they've lived in? Because if you really start to dissect that, you'll realize that it's not your belief and that you just inherited that belief.
Yeah. Someone else's belief. And I think, because there are and especially there are so many high achieving women as well, who are kind of secretly scared that, if they keep their ambition, either they'll be perceived as super ambitious, kind of that typical idea about especially a woman in business or who is working, and also kind of, they lose their spirituality card, or if if they embrace spirituality, they lose their edge. They'll, there will be no practicality only. So I think, you have actually named this kind of tension very clearly. I think your take, it gives permission for a different equation, that not ambition or soul, but more ambition that is also rooted in a regulated nervous system, and then a very conscious, self-aware relationship with power and money as well.
Yes. Yeah, and looking at money as resources, right? It gives you the opportunity to do a multitude of things, and one of them is freedom, right? So I know that a lot of people that are in the spiritual community for a long time, they looked at money as dirty. It doesn't feel right to take it. And, when someone's performing a service or giving you a product, it's just an exchange of energy. There has to be an equal exchange. So really, the financial aspect needs to actually happen to keep things in balance from an energetic perspective. So,
Absolutely. And I think we'll do a disservice if we miss this. So you have created something which is called as the soul path framework, Gabriela. So can you also give like a glimpse, like how this framework works? How different is it, from any other kind of framework available out there?
yeah, sure. So the soul path, my 4-step framework consists of 4 steps: the source connection, which is reconnecting to something greater than yourself, whatever that means for you. 2 is ownership, radical responsibility and ownership, and taking a look at your emotional body and what you put into it. Step 3, unlock, which is rewiring patterns, healing the nervous system, and reclaiming your sovereignty. And then number 4 is love embodied, which is the integration, leadership, self-trust, and self-forgiveness. So in each of these steps, we look at the different 4 bodies, and I give specific tools and exercises to help you start supporting them, and in that process to clear out all the junk that you accumulated from a limiting belief or negative belief perspective, and to just clear that out. There's a lot of forgiveness practices. There's a manifestation, my manifestation perspective, and just learning the different tools that are available to you that are easy to implement. The only thing that I need from someone that is interested in healing or changing is the willingness to keep an open mind, and then the willingness to take action. Because you could read a book, you could read 5 books, you could read 10 books. If you're not taking action, nothing's going to happen. Just like you said, if the universe, just leave it to the will of the universe. And if something bad or good happens, either way, it justifies it. But change is not going to happen if you are not an active participant.
Okay. Yeah, that is very powerful and really interesting, because not only there are 4 kind of components here, but each component has got its 4 bodies. So it's definitely like a universe. It's in itself. It's super. Okay, so before we conclude, Gabriela, if listeners, I'm very sure, especially women, but for everyone who are interested to explore more about these 4 bodies, and they would also like to explore your soul path framework, they would also like to connect with you to share their thoughts and opinions, what would be the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, just head over to my website, phoenixmedicine.me, and take a look. I do have a soul path dedicated page on there, so you could take a look at what's available. You also have my social media accounts on that website. So yeah, just reach out. Happy to connect.
Wonderful. Listeners, what I'm going to do for every one of you is have all these links in the show notes. So just refer to them along with this episode on whichever platform you listen to your podcast to. And I also want to invite everyone to do just one honest check-in, maybe. Not, am I successful enough yet? You already know how to ask that. But the question here is, where am I still trading my body, my peace, or my truth for someone else's approval or validation, or for myself? And maybe it shows up in the way you answer work emails, maybe at midnight, in the way you carry everyone's emotional load in your family, or in the way you keep saying, I'm fine, even though your system is screaming out loud for a pause. Gabriela, thank you so much for this such a rich and thoughtful conversation. I think not because we just talked about burnout as a buzzword, but I think this conversation gave us a language, for the quieter ways we, especially women, abandon ourselves in the name of being the strong one. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation as well.
Absolutely. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning into this episode of Cosmic Confluence. And if this episode stirred something in you, do not just binge the next podcast. Take 5 minutes, put your phone down, Put a hand on your body and ask, what do you need from me today that is not more performance? Until next time, this is your host Sana, and this has been Cosmic Confluence. Thank you.